Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Next Normal and America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. I've been traveling down the road of exploring some new frontiers, especially when it comes on to holistic medicine or even energy healing or things that usually I don't dive into. But I have to tell you, sometimes when you're at the edge of your seat where your health is concerned and the doctors have tried everything, you do start to turn to some alternative approaches. And some of them can definitely work, and some of them maybe I don't have enough faith or belief in them. You know, Dr. Joe Dispenza, our very good friend, has definitely led the way in the power of our thoughts in healing. And through my teachings of Raj Yoga meditation, we deeply believe in that. The whole issue, though, is do we do it? Do we actually sink into what we know we can do? I'm really excited about our special guest that we've got here today, Deborah King. She's a popular speaker, New York Times best-selling author, meditation teacher, very known for her spiritual leadership and authority on energy medicine. Her early story of recovery from cancer and alcohol and drug addiction led her to actually leave the corporate arena and master energy healing systems from around the world. Isn't that amazing? Her groundbreaking life force energy healing programs guide the reader through personal transformations so they can, too, lead. W Magazine is calling it electrifying. Gives me great pleasure to welcome our special guest, Deborah, to the air. Welcome, Deborah. Glad to have you.
Delighted to be here.
Deborah, you were a successful attorney, wow, in your 20s. And when you were diagnosed with cancer, can you tell us a little bit about how did this lead you to change paths and ended up on the practice of meditation and becoming a spiritual teacher, even an energy healer?
Well, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride, sister. You mentioned, I woke up in my mid-20s with cancer, very unexpectedly. I did not have any warnings, and I was like, "Well, where'd this come from?" And of course, I was under the care of medical doctors, but I asked them, "Could I have a little window of time here?" The surgery they proposed was very radical. This is many, many years ago. And I said, could I have some time maybe to look around a little for other solutions? And they said, well, you have a few months. So I realized I didn't know how I felt. I didn't seem to have any connection to my feelings. And I had heard about meditation. This is so long ago, I must have seen it in a print newspaper or, in the yellow pages. And I called and I learned, and it started to really make big changes in me and my ability to discern and to judge and to think. And I started with that, and I stumbled on energy healing a few weeks later, literally walking down the street and following a sign into a room. Something I probably wouldn't do today. But I had 3 sessions. I had an amazing remission right there on the table, and I was totally sold on that. So I went back to the hospital I was being treated at in San Francisco for studies. I thought, well, good red-blooded American, I want proof of this. I want to see an X-ray. And so I went back, and they said, yeah, you're clear of cancer now, and they're famous, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, sentence. And as I started out of the hospital to go study energy healing with the practitioner with whom I'd had this remission, on the curb, I stumbled over a kiosk. And as I was riding myself on the curb waiting for a cab, in the kiosk I saw a flyer that had the word healing on it. And I was intrigued, and I grabbed it and read it in the cab. And while I was in San Francisco, I met with those people who were a esoteric Christian group that practiced the healing as set out in the New Testament. And I ended up staying 10 years with them, learned amazing techniques there, amazing. But sadly, I finally left and went to study the energy healing I had been exposed to many years before in the remission. So, flash forward, I don't know, 40 years, I have combined all of those modalities and do the work and teach the work I do today.
Well, isn't it amazing, Deborah, how sometimes something so tragic can just completely lead us on another journey that we can't imagine the potential of it, and we would have never thought of it before the tragedy. You know, we might have been so skeptical too and judgmental about it until we ourselves walked on it. Would you say that our emotions, let me reframe that. Would you say the way that we think is responsible for a lot of our illnesses?
Well, I think you picked the right word the first time. I think it is emotional.
Mm.
And I think our emotions are responsible for every single thing that happens to us.
Yeah. And how do we curtail our emotions? Like, 'cause sometimes we do go through a particular period in our lives where we just can't handle it. Today I had two people call me who just explained and expressed actually they're just feeling so sad. And as much as I tell them it'll pass, you know what they said to me? You say that all the time. Well, what do you want me to say? It's going to pass. So,
Well,
how do our emotions impact our current state of being and the health?
we don't. I don't counsel people to suppress their emotions, but to process them in socially acceptable ways. You and I would probably talk about meditation first as a great way to process the emotions out of our energy fields and out of our bodies. Otherwise, we just push them down somewhere and store them, and they cause trouble later. Other ways to process emotions are energy work. So are dance, music, exercise in the outdoors, spending time in nature. Those are all great ways to
Sure.
get clarity and past an emotional turmoil.
There are times that I've not been able to recognize what I'm going through. Maybe I'm full. Maybe there's just too much happening around me. Maybe I just lack the courage. Or I'm just exhausted. I just can't. What are your thoughts about why we actually tend to bottle up our emotions instead of addressing them?
Well, first of all, we weren't taught as children how to process them by our parents. We copy, we imitate what our caregivers did, and they probably um, put on a game face and pretended nothing had happened. Um, we watch mom and, dad leaves the family and leaves her in a lurch and she just tries to shoulder on. So we decide that's the way to handle a tragedy is to pretend it didn't happen. Um, a lot of other times we project, we take our emotion and we project it onto someone or something else. We say it's their fault. So we have a couple coping skills that don't work.
Yeah. Childhood trauma is all too common, huh? And many people are going through suffering from its effects. I can tell you, my mother, for one. What advice would you offer those who are living with these unresolved issues and memories? I mean, how have you handled your own? What did you do to get out of it? I'm noticing while stirring my tea this morning, I don't know if I was feeling the energy of everyone outside or the two calls of people who were feeling very, very sad, and maybe just my own nostalgia about going back home after being away for so long. But I could feel the emotions swirling up inside of me, and I just sat with it. I just allowed it to be what it needed to be today and process, whatever it needed to signal to me. I can't say I found an answer, but what I do know, I used to catch myself saying, what is it that's so deep in you? It's something so deep down in the soul that needs love. And I might not have been able to feed it that love completely, but I know that's secure. What's it been for you?
Well, you just described it so beautifully. You simply sat on allow and acknowledged what you probably accurately guessed was affecting you, and thus processed. Others might journal, which fancy word, but could mean writing it or speaking it into your phone. Your thoughts and your feelings. That's a great way to process what's going on. We just don't want to lie to ourselves. We want to be really honest with ourselves.
Yeah, very, very true. In certain cultures, that's really difficult to do, but I know that it's really essential if we want to move forward. Well, could you explain to our audience who may not be very familiar with energy healing, and I actually want to learn more about it too. What is it, and what does your system of energy healing entail?
Well, energy healing refers in its most basic way to the fact that we're all made up of energy, as is the entire universe and cosmos. We're interrelated in far deeper and more profound ways than we can ever realize with everything, every sentient being. And we can affect ourselves energetically by focusing on our own bubble of light that we're more or less sitting inside of, is one way to look at it. So you have a personal energy field that is connected to the grand energy field of the universe, the God force, and our personal energy field feels immediately every emotion. So it's literally our emotions that power our energy field. It's not the other way around. And so every feeling you have is sending a signal to your field, which then affects your body. So your body, your physical body, grows out of your energy field. Your energy field comes in at conception or perhaps earlier, and the body literally grows out of it. And so your body looks like your field. So you can fix your body by adjusting your field.
How? Give me an example.
Well, I think I'd suggest that you work with a qualified practitioner. Lots of people think, they should be doing this to themselves, which is much trickier than one would think. It's a lot easier to help someone else than it is to help ourselves. It's easier to know someone else than it is to know ourselves. So that would be step one, is find a qualified practitioner.
The energy healing, is there a particular modality of thought process that you recommend a person should apply?
No, because you're a different person every moment. So, for example, if you were my client, I might use one technique yesterday and a different one today. Because today you are a different person, and you are dynamic. You're constantly and hopefully not stuck. Because when we get stuck, that's when we get sick. So we're constantly in this dynamic flow. And again, someone might say to me, well, what should I do for headaches? Well, I have to know who you are in that moment to talk to you about that headache, not who you were last week.
Wow, so it's all about where the energy of the soul is presently when you do your energy healing. Like you can tune into somebody and then sense their vibration and then offer them the signal, the sign, the practice.
Yes, and you do it in tandem with the client. The practitioner is a midwife. The real healing is coming from the client's higher self.
Right.
Your own higher self knows what you need, and if invited by someone who's qualified, it will usher it in, and the practitioner is a facilitator or a midwife.
Mm. Does intuition tie into healing at any time?
Hugely.
Well, because I'll tell you why. A few years ago, I could sense that I was going to come down with an ailment. But in my mind, I would say no, 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 no. And when I actually did come down with it, I was like, oh, great. What mistake did I do? What happened? What's going on? And just yesterday, I was talking to Antonia, our producer, and she was really adamant about me getting certain health benefits and this and that and that. And she said to me yesterday, I never told you this, but I saw I saw me by your bedside, sitting there, and I said, I know I would hate when you would look at me with this vision like I was going to get sick, that I would just keep trying to kill that vision from her
Well,
eyes. But this intuition, we can get an intuition about getting ill, but we can also get an intuition about how to heal. What is that like? What is that intuitive signal that we can recognize that we are now in a healing mode of ourselves? Do you know?
well, let me just back up and address your first question was well, what about intuition in general? So it's one of our strongest gifts. Every single person on the planet and every animal plant has it also. So we all have this ability to sense or discern something that is not necessarily visible. The mother who knows her child is sick before the school calls. You who knows who's calling before the phone rings. We all have these gifts. And now you're taking it a step further and asking, well, what about that gift when applied to healing? I think you're right, sister. I think we have all kinds of messages that are intuitive that may come to us in so many different ways, not necessarily through thought, but there's so many ways we can get messages.
Mm. What gets to me is when the message comes and I ignore it. Have you ever ignored your messages?
Oh, so many.
And you're just like, you just want to slap yourself. Yeah. When we look at medical intuition, and do you think it's something that every or anyone can actually learn?
Oh, I know so. I teach so many people how to develop their medical and intuitive abilities. I mean, it's ancient civilizations, they knew this power intimately, and we've just simply misplaced it temporarily. So, the thing is, none of us are really bringing out new knowledge, right? We're just rediscovering knowledge that got misplaced or sidestepped for a while.
I bet it is. I bet it is. I guess we can learn anything. Remember when we were kids,
Mhm.
how much more intuitive and psychic we were, and as life took a toll on us, we started to forget that really subtle inability that was at a soul conscious level. I deeply know as a fact we're all souls. And the soul is definitely carrying a recording of all the experiences that we're either holding and need to let go of, or experiences that we want to keep holding because they're so filled with power and light. And I'm sure that a lot of our ailments are coming from where that recording is at a soul level. If there's a lot of trauma, or a sense of loss, or sorrow, or rage, or revenge, or my inability to forgive, just imagine what that vibration is doing as it sends its energy from here throughout my body. So it's a fascinating exploration. Do you see a relationship between conventional Western medicine and energy healing? Very few doctors are understanding the importance of alternative healing, Deborah. But the ones that I find, when they do recognize Ayurvedic herbs and healing of your modality and other holistic approaches, I love those physicians. I find them so wholesome and so healthy to visit. But what do you think? I mean, do you see a relationship between conventional Western medicine and
Oh,
energy
totally.
healing?
And totally. And I've found most physicians in 2022 are quite open to it now. It's amazing that they don't have the same reaction that they did 40 or 50 years ago when things were fairly closed. Now they want it. They want to know, where can they learn how to meditate? Tell me more about Ayurveda. It's been it's been really a charming change.
Mm, so
And
beautiful.
I encourage people to get everybody on their team if they're sick. Please don't foreclose Western medicine. Western medicine offers all kinds of um, help, and we want everybody on our team. We want our doctor, our herbalist, our energy medicine practitioner, maybe a nutritionist, our meditation teacher. You want everyone.
Technology has it's taken over our lives, Deborah. I mean, just us relating like this is because of technology. And I give blessings to Wi-Fi, and I give blessings to the inventor of the computer, and I give blessings to Zoom and Vimeo and Skype and all of these good things. When I look at technology today, is there a role that technology can play in energy healing? And let me explain what I mean. Let's say if I look into the camera, this camera will give me some vibrational frequency that could change the metabolisms of my body and my cells. Or if I look inwards, I can change the metabolisms of the cells in my body. But there are so many apps out there right now where it is guiding us to maybe putting us into the process, like do it like this, think like this, breathe like this. Yeah, now what's the role of technology? What do you think it's doing for us now?
Well, I'm probably blessed that I'm unaware of the apps. But here's my own personal experience. It was it was 2000. I remember what year it was, and I was hosting an event on the East Coast, and I was probably the first one out the gate to try a live stream. I mean, this was 22 years ago. It was unheard of, and the venue was very liberal in allowing me to do this from their space, and with very little bandwidth. Apparently, it was quite successful because I remember looking at this woman who was an Australian. She's on a screen, and I saw the transformation happen to her, and I thought, isn't that interesting that technology is allowing this transformation, this healing to take place thousands and thousands of miles from here. So that was an eye-opening experience for me many, many years ago, and I am a firm believer that technology is a gift from the gods, that actually it's allowing us to connect better with one another, which is the whole reason we're here. So the reason that we incarnate and we come here is to be in relationship with others, other sentient beings, and technology is simply assisting that. Especially look at how it's been with COVID. What would we have done without it? We would have all been alone. So it's amazing. It's an amazing gift, but it also has some physical repercussions for us that maybe our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren won't suffer from. But we're the first generation pretty much with this stuff, and that vibration is not really consistent with our energy fields. And those of us who are, and I'll slip into Ayurveda for a minute, those of us who are very vata, very very full of that more air, less grounded quality, are most impacted by the wireless vibration. We're fairly impacted by it.
No, we've got technology, but we just don't have the knowledge in terms of how to balance out the usage of technology. I think that I love what you said. We're the first generation dealing with this right now. And you are so right that what's going to come after us, we don't know. It will be maybe just a whole different paradigm of using technology, but it's still in our hands how much I plan to use it or apply it in my day-to-day life. It's up to us really to learn how to maneuver that. It becomes an addiction at
I
times.
remember a century ago, my Vayeda, my physician from India, being horrified at the thought I was carrying a cell phone. Horrified. Oh.
No, but
And
what? Me too. No,
2
Deborah.
weeks, and then I was back with my cell phone in my hand. Yes.
No, Deborah, me too. I used to, it's so funny how you become full circle with the comments you make. I used to be like, which guru is going to have a cell phone on a mountaintop? Oh, please, he's not a real guru. And then I realized that there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, it's good. It's good to have a connection to the all of humanity, but the ultimate connection will always be your intuitive, telepathic, pure consciousness reaching out far and wide. That becomes really the real message. So looking at energy healing, what do you project its future will be as we move into maybe a lot of people sitting down a lot and rates of illnesses have increased. What will be the role of energy healing in the future? You think more people will turn towards it, and why?
More people will turn toward it because Western medicine by itself is not adequate. And it will marry Western medicine, who will marry it back. It will become part and parcel of our regular, arsenal of things we choose to do to help stay well.
So, as we move into whatever the future will look like for many of us, I believe there's going to be a golden age coming soon because I really feel I'm getting better inside. I think I'm becoming a nicer person. I think I'm accumulating more divinity as I navigate through my dark patches. I believe that I've found a great collection of friends with me on the journey who are similar and doing the same. So I feel there's a hope for the future, and I can see it with my two eyes and my third eye. What's your vision of the future?
Um, I think mine is maybe a little darker than yours because I also have some relationship to my old beginnings in the corporate world. So I hear a lot of rumors and mutterings from that arena. I think we're in for kind of a rough time a few years from now. I think the economy is going to be problematic, which I think is going to be hard on everyone. And health-wise, I also think we're going to be pretty challenged
Yeah.
um, as the Earth continues to give us messages about how she feels. Hence, the pandemic, for example, is a message from the Earth, another living being that is communicating with us
Yeah. Yeah.
about all the mistakes we've made in the Amazon and elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think, going to be very rewarding but very challenging times.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I know that there's going to be a silver lining. I know that there'll be something beautiful that'll come out of the dark patch like a tragedy. Whenever we encounter any tragedy, something comes out of it that we benefit somewhere down the line. I'm always fascinated, Deborah, why is it that most of us sign up to learning more from tragedy than from love? I want to learn from love, I can't tell you. I just don't want to go through the hard way. So I'm just fighting all of you out there. Let's select love as the form of learning and transforming our lives. Deborah King, it's been a delight having you on the air. You are to the point. You are doing your work. We bless you. We thank you for being a contributor to humanity, to making it healthier. Is there anything else you'd like to share regarding your Life Force Energy Healing Program or anything else that's on your heart that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I would mention, I thought of this earlier when we were talking about getting qualified help from an energy healing practitioner. I do have um, a school that's been around for a long time, my Life Force Energy Healing Training Program, and there are a great number of graduates and teachers in that program that are available. If you just click on deborahking.com and click on the practitioner page, I think you might select someone who could help you individually. They're very. I'm very proud of them. They're very trained and very helpful. Very helpful.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for your offer. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Nice being with you, sister.
All right, everyone. So we've gotten some tips and some steps that we can take. And again, I don't know anyone out there who wants to keep staying sick. I just don't know. And we're going to have to do something to make ourselves healthier. First, it'll start in your mind. Then it'll start with the food that you definitely eat. But don't forget, it will definitely continue as a ripple effect of a choice that you've made. So let's make a choice to be healthy inside out. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, and I suspect we might be here to learn more about loving each other the same. Don't forget to get a copy of my new book, Meditation, Intimate Experiences with the Divine. Heard it's become #1 quite a few times in many categories at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So do give it a check. Take care. Many, many good wishes to you. Stay safe, stay pure, and stay powerful. Take care. Meditation, intimate experiences with the divine through contemplative practices. A common sentient series by Sacred Stories Publishing. The quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. Rumi. A time to choose. We find ourselves right now in the age of great transformation, one of the most consequential moments in human history. These are indeed the times that the great prophets and seers throughout the millennia have spoken about. Mankind has experienced and survived many eras of tremendous change, of course, yet with each turn of the spiral, the permutations become more amplified, as if there will be one final revolution of the cycle that turns it all around, so we can start anew once more.
Rice Alley Restaurant, located at 6838 Piedmont in Gainesville, Virginia. We're a family-owned restaurant and offer authentic Asian cuisine and sushi. Come, savor our delicacies made with love and enjoy the perfect ambiance. We look forward to seeing you there.